In this video, I'm going to show you how anyone, even beginners, can draw complicated scenes. If you want to work along with me, here's a reference photo we'll be using. Feel free to take a screenshot. Let's go ahead and jump right in. The technique is simple. We are going to break up everything we see into simple shapes. And to start, I'm going to just draw a simple box in the perspective in which I want my building to live in. This is essentially the outline of where my building will go. Now at this point, I need to visually inspect my reference photo and start to see it in terms of basic shapes. And what I am seeing are several shapes that we can work with. I'm seeing some wedges, cones, and boxes. But the two shapes that stand out to me right away are these two cylinders. These are going to make up the left and right side of my building. And they are going to act as the anchor for all other shapes. Now, once I've finished the two cylinders, I'm going to move over and draw the trees. And when I'm looking at these trees, I see a cone shape. So if you pay attention to how I'm drawing the cones, I am literally drawing a line that represents the height of the cone, and then I'll draw the elliptical base of the cone. Next, I can fill out the rest of that cone shape. Now, I'll make two cones for the two trees that I intend to draw. Now, as I explore the reference photo, I am trying to identify other shapes that stand out. One thing that does stand out are two wedge shapes on the front of the building. The wedge shape that makes up the support for the balcony, and the wedge shape that makes up the stairs. So I'll take my time to draw out those wedge shapes now. I am using the existing cylinders and the cones to help me position my wedge shapes correctly. I am looking at the relationships of those existing lines and my new lines just to help place everything accurately. Since this is a sketch, I am not looking to be exact, but just close enough. Okay, once both wedge shapes are done, I will finish the balcony up by drawing a box shape on top, and at this point, I'm going to consider that my primary shapes are complete. This is where I'm going to take a little bit of time and start to add the additional details to my sketch. Again, I'm trying to break it down into simple shapes where I can. I'm going to add the hard edges on the cylinder shapes. I'm also going to block out the windows for my entire building. And since we have a pencil, it's going to be easier at this stage to make mistakes. This is also a good stage to block out where I think the finer detail might live. Now, I don't need to get too heavy-handed with my pencil lines. I'm literally just trying to refine the placement of where the extra detail will go, like my windows. Now, if you pay attention, you might notice that sometimes I actually block out the top and bottom of the windows first before I sketch in the loose shape. I am constantly referring to my reference photo and my existing sketch lines to help me determine where to place everything. Once all my detail has been blocked out, I'm going to switch over and use my fountain pen. I am using the Pilot Kukuno fountain pen with a grip that's about halfway back, and I'm going to go over all of my pencil lines to start to lock in that final line work. Now, again, I am moving fairly quickly, and I'm trying not to overthink anything at this stage. I want my line work to be loose. Now, as I start to add all of my line work, I want to talk a little bit more about approaching complex scenes. Sometimes, when you look at a subject that you want to sketch, it may not be obvious how to break it down into simple shapes. But the more intentional you are about it, the more it becomes easier. I encourage you to go out and observe the world and look at different buildings and storefronts and start to find different shapes that they make up. You can pretty much reconstruct any building using boxes, cones, wedges, or cylinders. Start with the largest shape that you see first, and then you can start dividing them up into smaller shapes. For example, windows can be squares, or balconies can be boxes, stairs can be wedges, or trees can be cones. When drawing with this technique, I do recommend starting with a pencil first, since it's easier to correct any mistakes. Now, you'll notice that by the end of the sketch, I did not erase any of my pencil lines, so don't be afraid of leaving those lines on your paper. When you go back over it with the pen, The focal point becomes those darker lines, and those pencil lines become almost invisible afterthoughts in your sketch, sometimes even giving it a little extra character. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this balcony. Okay, coming up, I'm going to start work on the stairs, and I want to share the technique that I'm using for the steps. The first thing is that I'm going to draw the tall handrail at the top of the steps, and then go to the bottom of the steps to draw out that last steps. And now I have a starting point and an end point. From there, I'm just going to draw a staggered stair-step pattern up that pencil line. Now I'm going to go ahead and make some hatch lines across the steps in the correct perspective. The trick here is that I am not actually taking any care to make sure that my lines line up with the actual steps from that staggered line. I know that as long as I have a few parallel lines bunched together that run into that staggered line, I can sell the illusion of the steps being connected. Again, sketching is not about precision. It's about getting the essence of what you see down on your paper. Okay, in a minute, I'm going to move over and start to draw the two trees on the left. Now, we already have a cone shape that I will closely follow to keep my shape of my tree. Now, I want to explain a little bit about the technique I'm using. I'm going to start from the top of the tree and work my way down to the base, and I'm trying to create lines or branches that stick out randomly from the profile, and I'm going to just fill the insides with some extra scratches. Now, I'm being very careful not to get too dense in any one area. As I work my way down the sides of the tree, I'm being deliberate about adding some branches sticking out that are clearly defined, making sure the general direction of those branches all point inward toward the center of my tree. Now, once I move over to the second tree, you will notice that I am being deliberate about not letting my lines overlap with the first tree. At this scale, and with this technique, it's very easy to have two trees appear as one big mass. So by intentionally leaving some negative space between those two trees, I'll get the illusion that my second tree is receding from the first. Again, having that pencil sketch down first is really going to help me define the shape of my trees better. In fact, when drawing trees, I highly recommend trying to get some pre-sketched down ahead of time to help you draw the right shape. It is very easy to make trees too thin or too bulky or even lopsided if you're trying to draw them without any visual help. Okay, at this stage, I'm going to start to make my way around the building and add all of the windows. Again, since I have the pre-sketch down, it's very easy for me to get the position correctly, so I can move fairly fast at this point. Now, there are a few techniques that I am doing that I want to point out. You may have noticed that I'm using the back side of my pen to draw a lot of the window detail, and that is because I can tell that the window detail is going to require a lot of line work, and I want to be careful not to create a mass of dark, thick line work in any one area of my building. So by being intentional about making my line thinner, I can add just enough line work to suggest these windows and still have a balanced sketch. Now, the other thing you may notice is how my wrist moves when I draw each side of the window. Since windows are simply 4 straight lines, I am making it easier on myself by moving my wrist around to set myself up in the best position to draw that straight line. For example, when I draw the bottom and tops of the window, you'll see that I'm approaching the line from the bottom of my paper. And when I need to draw the sides of the windows, I'll move my hand around to the side so I can draw a straighter line. What I'm not doing is I'm not attempting to draw the box shape of the window in one go. I am being very intentional about separating those lines and drawing them individually. This is just going to help me with my detail work. I will continue to use both techniques as I draw out the rest of the detail of my building and eventually work my way up to the roof. Now, when I get to the roof, I will continue to use those same techniques as I did for the windows, working my way down the roof, taking the time to refer back to my reference photo as needed to make sure I'm capturing the detail correctly. Now, as I start to finish up the details on my roof and draw out the last few windows, I want to talk about a simple technique that I'm going to do to add a little bit of extra texture to that roof. Currently, I feel like the roof looks a little plain, and I want to add some visual interest to help break up the monotony. I have some texture from the trees at the bottom of my building, and I feel like the top of my building could use a little extra texture too. But I have to be careful here because I don't want to add too much texture and make it look messy. So the technique that I'm going to be doing is to add a few dashes to represent the roof paneling. I'm going to be very careful not to draw out every single panel. Instead, I'm going to be clumping my texture lines into the corners of my buildings or next to the details such as the windows. As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to sketching, sometimes the suggestion of detail will have a lot more impact on your scene than trying to capture every single line. As I wrap up my line work, the next thing left to do is to add color to my scene. Now, for these drawings, I am taking a more basic approach to coloring than I have in my previous videos, so I'll explain a little bit about what's going through my mind on how I'm coloring these buildings. The first step is to find your base color, and in this case, I'm going to choose a medium brown to cover my entire building. Now, I know that this brown color is not the exact color that I see in my reference photo, which is fine because once I have that brown color down, I can begin to push or pull it in one direction or another by introducing additional colors. And in this case, I've selected a lighter, almost peach color that's going to help me soften that brown to give it a more neutralized appearance. Now, using that same technique, I am going to pick the base color of my roof and apply it over the entirety of the roof. Again, at any time, I can go back and add another color to push or pull that color in a different direction. Now, with my major base colors down, my next goal is to start introducing value or contrast. I'm going to do that by selecting darker versions of the base color and add them where I think the contrast is needed. And at this stage, I am heavily relying on my reference photo to identify those contrast areas. At times, you will see me jump back and forth between colors, just trying to clean up different areas that I may have missed, or in an attempt to push or pull a color a little more into one direction or another. Now, in order to add a little bit more visual contrast to my scene, I did decide to go with a light blue color for the interior of the windows. Even though my reference photo suggests a more neutral, earth-toned color, this is where I'm taking some artistic liberties, as I know the blue color is going to be a great visual contrast to the brown brick. Now, continuing with coloring my scene, I will color the trees using two separate green colors, and then I'm going to use a light beige on top of that to make my trees more neutral. The only green markers that I have in my set tend to be a little too saturated for my liking. So one trick that I can do to help bring those colors down is by adding that beige color on top, and that's just going to make it feel more natural. Now, the last thing I need to do is to add all of my shadows, and you can see that this is where I'm using my favorite shadow marker, the BV17, which if you ever want to purchase this marker by itself, I do have an Amazon link in the description below. I am not sponsored by Copic in any way. Okay, so back to adding shadows. Once I've colored in all of the visible shadows, I am going to be using this marker to add bits of contrast under each window and roof ledge. And that's just a quick technique to help all of my detail pop more. And that's it. That's my final sketch. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I hope you feel better prepared tackling complicated scenes. And if you already haven't, please give this a like and subscribe.